Well, almost all of you are asking me this question. Some of you are even getting into my inbox and asking me, hey, Joseph, I'm seeing people saying on social media we should go ahead and withdraw our money in all the banks because the banks are collapsing. Hey, make a video about this. Tell me, is my money safe? I'm outside the country. Is my money safe? Is all the banks okay? And all those. Guess what? You see, just like I told you, I'm here to serve you and I try the best as I can. Guess what? I have contacted all the relevant bodies. I have done my research as much as is possible. By the way, I'm making this video at around November of 13th. That's when I'm making this video. So I've done all the research and I'm here to answer every one of you who might be having an idea of whatever the banks it is and what kind of that. Okay, anyway, this is Good Joseph and I talk about anything related to finance, money, investing, businesses, and all those kind of things. And by the way, can you imagine, this is type of the videos that I make each and every time, keeping you updated. And by the way, in case of anything, I'll come here and make a video and keep you updated. So that's why you need to go ahead and subscribe to this YouTube channel. Whenever there is a new information, I will be the first one to actually come here and I post it to you. All right, make sure that you like the video and make sure that you leave me a comment on the comment section. Ask me questions on the comment section. I usually answer those questions on the comment section. Anyway, let me not bore you with long introduction. Let's get into the business. Should you withdraw your money from your bank? What is happening? All right, and by the way, if you are here watching this video, how many of you have been to the bank recently and the banks are asking you, hey, instead of, let's say you're withdrawing your cash, first of all, they are information out there that the limit has actually been established. Hey, you can't withdraw a certain amount of money. And when you're withdrawing it, some of the banks are actually asking you, hey, you know what? We ain't gonna give you the cash, the liquid cash, the paper money, but we're gonna send it to, let's say, to your mobile banking or your wallet and something of. How many of you have received such kind of a thing from your bank? Okay, now, what exactly is going on? Okay, now, before I say yes and no, this is what you're supposed to understand as far as our banks is concerned. There is a certain body called KDIC, all right? KDIC simply means Kenya Depositors or Depository Insurance Corporation. Simply means this is like an equivalence of like FDIC in the US. Is it called FDIC or something of sort? The federal, the amount of money, and what have you. So what exactly does this body and this one happen? But this one is not our, this for the USA one, okay? Let's concentrate on this one, okay? And in your country, if you're watching me from South Africa, if you're watching me from Nigeria, if you're watching from everywhere, each and every country, they have their own body. And what exactly does this body do? They usually protect the depositors. The depositors. Who are depositors? It's you. You take your money and send it to a bank to keep it there, obviously, because you can't keep it under your mattress. So what exactly does this body do? In case a bank is actually, or a financial institution goes insolvency or goes down or is collapsing or it is failing, this body protects the depositors. And what exactly do? They actually protect you up to 500,000 in your bank. All right? Whatever the amount of money, if you have 500,000 and below, all your money, you'll actually get it back. The KDIC will actually compensate that, will actually give you that amount of money. What do I mean? What if you have more than this? Let's say you have 10 million, you have 50 million, you have 10, you have 1 million, you have 600,000. What happens now? The KDIC, that is according to the Kenya Depositors Act of 2012, it says that they protect you up to this category. So if you have anything in excess of 500,000, this is what happens now. Whatever is in excess, you actually get it during or through the process of liquidation. That financial institution, let's say you're banking with Bank X. So, and the Bank X has actually gone down or is going down. And of course, the 500K, you'll get it in your back, you get it back. Let's say you had 1 million. So what happens is that the other 500, you will have to wait the process called liquidation. Liquidation means that each and every institution, financial institution, especially a bank, they usually have assets that they have invested on. Maybe they have some real estate, maybe they have some bonds, they have some bills, they have some those kind of investments, okay? So what happens, all those when they are liquidated, that's when you get the excess, all right? Are we together? But imagine this, that is a worst case scenario. Are we yet there? We are far from that. Is it happening? Not yet. What happens is that right now, most of the institutions are facing what we call cash crunch. Cash crunch. Cash crunch, we have a limited supply of liquid money. We have a limited supply of what we call the paper money in our country. And some of the reason why this is happening, it's actually intentionally by the Central Bank of Kenya. They're actually limiting the number of money or the amount of, am I making sense? The amount of money that is in circulation to make sure that at least they protect the currency, our currency against the dollar. How many of you have you noticed that the USD, the USD with respect to Kenya has actually been playing around to 129 point, let's say something there, to 1.8. Has actually been stayed there for a couple of weeks. Okay, it has been sort of, let's say, call it a range bound. It has actually been bounded around that particular range of 129, 128, 129, like for a couple of weeks now. So what happening is that the Central Bank of Kenya is trying to limit the number of money in circulation to make sure that we caution ourselves from us having what we call unrealistic amount of money that you need to have for you to exchange with $1. And this is very simple principle. When you have a lot of money in circulation, it makes your currency more accessible. And when something is more available, its value goes down. Of course, when you have more of it, of course, more people have it, then more people can actually do what? Buy that particular dollar. And of course, that dollar becomes, it's like a lot of us, let's say we have like 3 girls here and we have 10 boys who want to marry the 10 girls. Are we together? I know it's a weird example, but let me just use it for the purposes of explanation. So, and then for us to, no, come on, let's not use that. Let's say here are 3 cows and here we have 10 buyers. These 10 buyers, a cow, let's say it goes for 5,000, and every of all these buyers, all of them, they have, each and every one, they have 5 buyers, so everyone can purchase that that particular cow. Then what happens is that the demand will be high because everyone will say, hey, I can buy it, take my 5, take my 5. So what happens to that person with the cow? Be like, no, it will be 7. No, instead of 5,000, it will be 7,000. So therefore, what happens? Whoever has more will actually manage to do what? To purchase that. So that's the reason when we have more of circulation of money on the economy, then it happens that our dollar goes down. And therefore, and I think the reason why the banks are actually asking you, instead of giving you that liquid, that paper money, let us do what we call the digital transfer. When we do the digital transfer, well, maybe that's why we can actually caution our shilling against the hits of the dollars and what have you. By the way, bearing in mind that Trump has actually won the president of the US, actually that has had a negative on other currencies like the Japanese yen. Actually, there was a fluctuation, the euros, the whatever. A lot of the currencies, they actually, registered such a change when the Trump was actually announced as the president of the president-elect of the United States of America. So the point is, what exactly is happening? Well, I contacted the relevant bodies as far as the KDIC is concerned to actually find out the status of our financial institutions. Do we have any bank that is having some sort of a stress or something of sort? Is there anything that is going on? Because you are the people who knows what happens as far as these financial institutions are concerned. And the person whom I talked to, and by the way, I do have that as an evidence in my phone. So is that they told me, no, we don't have any kind of such. And if there is anything, listen, there are some of the stages that are usually assumed before we reach to a point whereby you are getting 500,000 from the KDIC. And these are the stages. The moment they realize that the bank is actually having a problem, maybe the liquidation, or maybe let's say it's facing the cash crunch or something of sort, of the bank is failing and something of sort, there are some of the things that they can do. One, there's something called mergers. The banks can actually merge. Okay, and we have cases of the banks in Kenya that merged. For example, we had, others, they merged not necessarily because of them failing. They merged in the, on the basis of expanding and having bigger market. So we can have a bank like, I don't want to mention names anyway in this video, but we had some banks that actually, for example, if you take an example of like ABSA. ABSA, it's amalgamated banks of South Africa. I think there were 6 banks that came together to form one bank. So there are those cases of actually what? Merging if banks are failing. The other occasions that can happen with this KDIC is that they can buy off that particular institution. Let's say that particular institution is actually not performing as required. Then that institution can actually be bought by other institutions which are doing okay. And of course, I'm avoiding to mention names. If you've been consuming the financial news or business news in Kenya, there are some of the banks in Kenya that you've heard that, hey, they have bought a certain bank, they have actually absorbed a certain bank, the name of that bank has changed and all those kind of things. So there are stages before we reach to the point where actually we've never witnessed this kind of a thing since independence. So the moment there is a thing like a bank is failing, is not able to meet its operational cost and be able to have some money running the ATMs and what have you. So there are those stages that are there. So right now, obviously, we are not yet there. We are not having any kind of a result or news that, hey, banks are going down, they're unable to pay that. They are only having alternative way of actually withdrawing your cash. And by the way, the cash limit has been there for years. And you know what? I'm going to leave you with this point. Me and you who have the bank money in the banks, if you have any, something of sort, we can be the problem to that bank. How? If you create this suspense and you tell everybody to show up to the bank and withdraw their cash, of course they will have what we call run in the bank, okay? And when we have a run in the bank, it means we have a lot of people who are asking for their money back, and that means the bank has to be has to be liquid, meaning that they have to have money. When you show up, you want your money, then everyone else comes and show up and they want their money, and what happens? They run out of cash, and when they run out of cash, what happens? They go turn to their bonds and their bills. They start selling their bills, and that is how you can actually bring down that institution. And some of this capping can actually be established. If you go to countries like Argentina, they have a limit whereby right now as we speak, and I'm making this video of November around 13th there, you cannot withdraw more than $40 from your bank. That's like 4,000 or 5,000 or something of sort in terms of Kenyan shilling. Okay, now they are doing this to make sure that they curb. Everybody can show up to their bank and they withdraw everything, and then the financial institutions goes down. We have mechanisms and bodies that are in place to make sure that all these do not happen. But does it mean, can it happen? Yes. Can't it happen? Of course it can happen. This is a thing that can actually happen out there. So the point is, what I'm doing, I'm observing, I'm listening, I'm contacting financial institutions. And then maybe if you're working in a bank, don't mind, just call me anyway. We can have a conversation, tell me what is happening out there. Been contacting people who are working in banks, who are working in the financial institution. I've contacted such bodies to get relevant information. So whenever I stand here to talk to you, I've actually contacted the professionals. I'm getting it from horse's mouth. Nowadays we have a crisis. People, just anybody with a smartphone and internet can say anything on the internet, and they do not know we are living in an era whereby whatever you say can actually cause some problems. So anyway, the point is, as of now, we are not even yet into the liquidation processes. We are not even yet in the levels of merging and what have you. I understand right now as we speak, we have a lot of NPLs, the non-performing loans. People are unable to pay that. But I can tell you is that, hey, unless maybe the loans were offered or issued and secured, that's when we can have a crisis in that particular bank and that particular branch. Listen, these are banks. If there is a branch, say, in a certain city, that branch can have issues because that branch ought to have its own operational cost. That particular branch ought to sustain itself in terms of the liquidity, paying the rent, paying the licenses, paying the workers and everything. So that bank should, all these branches are compartmentalized, meaning they should function on their own. Of course, the regulations come from the top, but each and every branch should actually have what? Its own capacity to stand or what we call to service itself. I really hope I'm making sense on that. So now let me answer the ultimate question. Should you go and withdraw your money from your bank institution? So if you ask me, based on what I've researched and what I've known, that will actually even cause more problem. It will actually cause. Can you imagine if we all withdraw our money and keep it our blankets and what have you? Sometimes, come on, let's guys have what we call an informed reasoning. Okay, you might think like, hey, are you speaking from the government mouths? No, I'm just asking. Just close your mouth and ask yourself. Assuming that we all have money, we all have that money under the blankets and whatever. What do you think can happen? Number one, insecurity cases can be very high because people can show up to your place and ask you for the money because they know you have your money in a bank. So it can actually cause more problems. Two, almost everybody will have the liquid, so we have more supply of that cash in our system or in our markets. And then what does it mean? Of course, the dollars will hit us like nobody's business. The dollar will actually go high. And of course, I know you'll be like, do I care when dollar goes high? Of course you should. The fuel that you use in your car, if you have any, actually is imported using a dollar. Of course, maybe if you do not have a car, of course, it still will actually affect you. How? That car that transport that food that you eat, that makeup that you apply, that thing that actually will require that. Like, we can even have inflation by ourselves, to whereby we can even go the, we had cases of the Zimbabwean way where you find that their currency actually, I don't know, they had some hyperinflation, like Greeks way. Sri Lanka way and what have you. So there are mechanisms that are established. And I do choose to believe that we have people who invest in those financial institutions who have the willpower. I was actually reading an information that right now as we speak, our reserve currencies in terms of the USD, it's actually a 3-year high. Like the time we had like this, what we have right now was like 3 years ago. We have reserved currency. We have the policy that says we should have at least amount of money in terms of dollars, in terms of currencies that can purchase international products, of course, where the demand of or the requirement of a dollar is needed, of at around 4.5 months, 4.4 months, around there. We should have that. And right now, as we speak, we're at around 4.8. We have like because recently, in like a week or so, we had IMF dispersed another loan. Of course, personally, I'm not really augur well with the least loans that Kenyans are taking, or Kenya is taking, and what have you. And of course, I know you might also have an issue with it. We actually borrowed, and that loan was actually dispersed of around 606 million US dollars. So that's quite a lot of money anyway, if you ask me. And of course, we have the diaspora remittance that are coming in. If you didn't know, diaspora remittance in Kenya is a big deal. They're actually saying that it earns a lot of money, sometimes even more than coffee or close to tea and something of sort. So let me just tell you in short that we have a lot of laid systems that have been established before we come to a point where, and of course, when there is a run in the bank, when of course the institution is collapsing, you can tell. And listen, I'm gonna try the best as I can. In case of such a happening, I'll be here to tell you exactly what is going on. So for now, just stay put. Just understand, of course, there are regulation of the amount of money in circulation. Number two, understand that, we are having some issues when it comes to the taxes and what have you. The government is trying to make sure that they can monitor every transaction, be it either from the bank, from the mobile money and what have you, just to expand the basket of income. And of course, I've made this video, so I don't have to repeat it. So when you put all this into one basket, then that can answer you why banks are going the route that they're taking right now. But in terms of the financial crisis or the cash crash and should you withdraw? Absolutely no. Just hang around. But in case of anything, anyway, let's leave this open. In case of anything, I will always come here, try the much as I can to make sure that I inform you and we keep moving. So stay put, just relax, let your money be, invest. If you ask me what you should be doing right now is to invest. Let your money work for you. And if you let your money work for you, you won't have any problem. And of course, if you can, then try to diversify. Have like variety of banks. Bearing in mind that you are cautioned by, just in case, we have a worst case scenario, just have yourself money in different bank accounts so that at least you're cautioned by 500 there, 500 there, in case you have a lot of money. Anyway, I hope I'm making sense of that. This is Good Joseph speaking. For now, it's a goodbye and see you in the next one. And by the way, don't forget, you can always get my number from my, description of this specific video and you can give me a call. See you the next one.